Welcome to People Love Process. Not everything I work on is for a client. Sometimes I take on a project just because I like what someone is doing, or it might be a nonprofit and I want to support it, etc. In this movie, I'm going to do just that, creating a design for a person who runs an Instagram account I find interesting. Now, this whole idea came from my friend Dickie Adams because he follows the same guy on Instagram. I don't think he knew I did, and he had bought one of Eric's lead testing kits. And he's the one that contacted me and said, "Hey, do you remember growing up the Mr. Yuck? You should create something for Eric and run it by him." So I decided that's a great idea and it'd make a good video for my YouTube channel. So that's what we're going to do. Now, Eric is a scientist and he kind of left his full-time job and he pursued this detectled.com and came up with a testing kit. And so a lot of his videos, he goes into stores that are selling stuff now and he can do these lead tests on it, and it's pretty amazing some of the things he found. So when I was growing up, that my friend Dickie referenced, and by the way, this is his lead testing kit that my friend Dickie bought, but growing up, they had what was called Mr. Yuck, and this was developed by Children's Hospital out of Pittsburgh, I think, but it went national. And these were stickers that a mom or a dad could peel off a sheet and put them on poison items, like let's say it's cleaning supplies under the sink. So when a kid saw Mr. Yuck, they knew don't touch it, it could be poison, and there is always a poison hotline number for the area these stickers were sold in. Now, I grew up in Washington State, and the ones my mom would get would come from Seattle. You can see one of them here, and it was just a crack and peel sticker, and then they could put it on whatever the concerned material was that they didn't want a kid to get poisoned by. So I grew up with Mr. Yuck. I always thought it'd be cool to have a Mr. Yuck t-shirt when I got older, but of course I couldn't find those anywhere. So what I want to create for Eric is kind of the same type of approach, and that is to make a kind of a gross face, but I'm going to put my own spin on it. And that's where I start, is working out sketches. So here's some of my initial sketches, just trying to create a dead head type of face. So this is the first approach. Here's some other ones, because it's called a lead detected. Leaddetect.com is his website. And so that's what he's doing, is he's checking. So I thought, well, maybe a check mark with a kind of a dead face on, or a letter L for that almost reads like a check mark, but for lead, and it has a face on it. And then I kind of gave that up and decided, no, he's trying to detect lead. You know, that's what his website is, detect lead. So detect, I thought of kind of a target where, you know, if you think of the theater of war, there's a detection of a target environment, and then that's what they zero in on. And so I started thinking in a target and started drawing out different ones. Here's another one. And then once I did this one, I go, ooh, I like this, but I needed more volume. So I redrew it again and just kind of filled it in as thick. And that's what I'm going to go with. And this was the refined sketch. So like I do on everything, I just go ahead and select it. And I usually set it to 15% and just lock the layer. And we're going to build on top of this. So I'm going to create a layer. And I always, if you haven't noticed by now, I always go to medium blue. And I wish I could set this by like a default in Illustrator, because I always like having my layers medium blue, except for my X layer, which I make red so it stands out. And again, X layer is like my vector junk drawer. And I usually name this layer build. So we'll do that. Click OK. And this is the layer I'm going to build on. Now with this, I want to use some guides to establish where we're going to build. I'll go to Ellipse tool, and we're going to build this one completely by scratch. And I have pre-established graphic styles let's go ahead and move this up a little. It's kind of falling off the bottom of the screen. And all of these are like 1 point, 0.75, 0.5. We'll try this one. And I'm just going to go here, snap on a guide like that. And we'll go ahead, align it like this because I want the top to be right there and the bottom. Obviously, your drawing doesn't have to be perfect if you're using, you know, shape building tools like the ellipse tool we just used. So that'll be the inside part of this design. I've kind of determined the thickness here, but we'll kind of figure out what that is in a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm going to offset this first. So let's go ahead and go path, and we'll go offset path. And I don't think 10's enough. Maybe we'll try, I don't know, 14. That looked a little more. Let's do 2 more points. And I'm working in points. It's just easier than fractions on, yeah, that's a good thickness. So 16. So we'll go ahead and use the rectangle tool here. And by the way, when you're creating, I like to always go up in my control panel here. And if you go to Windows, you can see control. Always make sure to have this checked on because you can do a lot of shortcuts up here. So like on this one, I can go to transform. It tells me how wide it is. Well, I don't want it that. I want this to be 16 so it matches our offset like that. And I think that will work right there. And then it's already centered, so I'll just bring it down probably somewhere right around there. And this, I'll go ahead and just bring it so it's on the inside like that. And I'll go ahead and clone this, Command-C, Command-F. If you have the contextual menu bar open, you can select a shape and click duplicate. I just hit F3, that's my keyboard shortcut to clone. Then I'll just go to the reflect tool. Somebody just asked me last week about the reflect tool, that every time they click on this, it brings up a dialog. Well, that shouldn't be the case. You should be able to click on anything like this tool or the reflect tool, click on it once. It shouldn't bring up dialog. It will if you double click it, it'll bring up a dialog. But he always had the dialog box popping up. And so I told him, you're double clicking it somehow. Maybe you have your mouse too sensitive. I'm still not sure why, but we'll go ahead and select this shape with the reflect tool. I'll find a central anchor point, and keep in mind, I always use smart guides until they get in the way, then I'll turn them off. You turn them on or off using Command U. So I'm going to hover over this anchor point on the side here, like that. And then I'll just reflect this over. Because we're talking about 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I can just now clone these and just rotate it 90 degrees to get the other ones we need. So that's easy. Let's go ahead and build the face here. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit, and we'll go here. And on this curve, I'm not even going to use like the ellipse tool. I don't think we need an anchor point here. I'm just going to start down here, go like this, and go all the way over here, like that. Then I'll put a corner where it comes to a point, and then this one will end inside this shape. Right about there. And then I can go ahead and just distort this. Now you can use the anchor point tool if you don't have any plugins, and you can bend the path and then grab the Bezier handles and adjust your curve. And we'll do that instead of using any kind of plugin. So it's completely native to AI, like this. Again, just to get access to these handles, and then you can finesse the curve exactly the way you want it. And I want it to be thinner on this side and just swing over and get thicker on this side. And I think on this outside one, I want it to be a little thinner at the base where it starts. Bring this one down. See how it's trying to snap? So that's where I'll disable smart guides, and then I can make micro moves and adjustments without it trying to snap to anything like that. I think that'll work. And we'll go over, we'll grab the pin tool again and and I'm going to turn Smart Guides back on, Command U, because I want to be able to snap on this corner. This one will start here. And I don't think we'll need an anchor point there, but we might come back and add one. Then I'll make this part of the tongue, then the inside, and it comes back to right about there. Then again, this time I'll go ahead and use PathScribe tool. PathScribe is a plugin by Astute Graphics, and it pre-existed the feature they put in the anchor point tool by about 7 years. So I had been using this tool, for 7 years, and it's nice because not only does it bend the shape, it'll never affect the corresponding path on the opposite side of any anchor. And you get these ghost handles, these little dots. I could just grab that and pull out and get access to the ghost handles that way as well. So I don't even have to, distort a path. We're just going to give them a nice floppy tongue. I'm just going to move this down here like that, and then we'll adjust that. Again, go back to this tool, grab the path, bend it out, get access to the handles. So it works in a lot of the same way as the anchor point tool. I just think it technically behaves a little better than the anchor point tool. I'll just say it. Literally, Adobe just ripped off Astute. That's all they did here. They did that on quite a few features that Astute had out years before Illustrator, and then Illustrator looks at, that looks good. Let's go ahead and rip it off and do the same thing and not give anybody else credit. Doesn't really surprise me. Adobe has a history of doing that. So let's make the little inner part. And again, I'm using now I can't remember the name of the plugin. Let me get rid of that. And the plugin on this one is called Subscribe, but we're using the Arc by Points tool. And it allows you to create arcs and curved paths by just putting down 2 points, and then you can just bend it for the curve. You don't have to touch any Bezier curves. So we can create a shape like that. And of course, take the anchor point tool and close that shape just to get the inner part of the tongue. That's the same tool I would use to create these, because if you did it natively, you could go wherever it comes to a point, gets a point. So we could go like this, and all these corners of this shape will just be corner anchors. But these are all perfect straight lines. We wouldn't want that. So I go back, and you could use the anchor point tool, and you could curve these as you want like that. Now, there's no problem doing that. It's just, ever since discovering this arch tool, I just never use it, never build shapes like that anymore using those native tools, because it's so much easier just to use the arc tool to get that curve right out of the gate. I don't have to touch any of the Bezier curves. We can even put a subtle curve at the top here, and on the bottom here, go into this one. We'll go ahead and curve this side like this, and it just makes the process a little faster and, in my opinion, way more intuitive than what Illustrator has. So that's the whole point. I use plugins. It just makes life a little faster, a little easier, and in my opinion, many times, especially with the rounding tools by Astute, they don't get in the way like Illustrator implemented their corner widget. At certain zoom ratios, you just cannot select an anchor without activating the corner widget. Unless, of course, you turn corner widget off, then it kind of defeats the whole point of having the ability to round corners. So I just don't like how they implemented it. And the way Astute implemented their plugin Dynamic Corners to do the same type of rounding is just flawless, never gets in the way, and it's more customizable as well. So I like it for that. I use both, actually, but I'm a huge fan of Astute Graphics. You probably know that by now, though. Great people. They're very attentive to their user base and listening to feedback and constantly improving their software. I mean, if there's anything they do way better than the Adobe Illustrator team of engineers, is they come out with a feature, but then they don't basically abandon it for a decade. They're constantly updating and improving it. And that's something Illustrator could get a lot better at. They're really bad with coming out with a feature and then never improving upon it over time. So we have most of the shapes here. We'll build this part of the mouth down here just using elliptical shape. So we can go like this. I'll rotate it just so it's at a better angle. Something like that. Let's go and zoom in and make it a little easier. And again, if you're zoomed in at a certain degree, it might be easier to change the point line. So on this one, I could go to 25 point, and it might make it easier to build because you can actually see the drawing that you're trying to match it with. Not that this is a super precise drawing, but now I'll take a clone of this, Command-C, Command-F, or just hit the duplicate key on the contextual menu bar. I don't even have that turned on. It's an okay idea, but in my opinion, it gets in the way. And again, I don't like how they designed it. I go, well, it might work. So I'm going, well, can I tell it where to appear from my cursor point of view? So it only appears like to the right of my cursor. No, you can't. You can move it, but then it stays in that same position regardless. And it just, I'm going, really? I can't customize it? Why? It's like, so I just turn it off. It just distracts me. So we're going to take this, use Pathfinder, go minus front. And just so we keep everything the same thickness, we'll sample that. And you can see how quickly this can go. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to make some edit. I don't like how this is so close to, I don't know, whatever you call these little tick marks on the target. So I'm going to adjust this by editing this shape. Let's go into here, something like this. Put a little curve on it. And then I'll just close this shape. This is a throwaway shape for no other reason. Selecting that, selecting this, and trimming it. Yeah, that looks better, having a little more space there. Okay. Once we have this, we can go ahead and just unite these. I'll unite these. All these shapes for the mouth. We don't need to select the guide. We'll unite these. And then the more I'm thinking about this, we're going to be using a special green, and I'll go over that in a little bit. But this target itself won't be black. It'll actually be white because I want to have black in the background, and this will be green with just black elements floating on top. So we need to create donut shapes. So let's go ahead and actually, no. I think what I'm going to do is take these tick marks, select them all, and unite them. I'll go ahead and fill them just to make sure they're on top. Then I'll take this inner, and then I'll just go minus front there. That's what I needed. So what are we going to do with this now? Well, technically, I was thinking, how could he use this like Mr. Yuck? Well, Mr. Yuck was kind of like a badge, so I think that's what I'm going to do. If I turn on this layer, you can see I sketched out nice, precise sketch of what the badge is. So that's basically what I'm going to replicate. So let's go ahead and go back to our art. And from this edge going out, I think I want this to be about out to here. Let's just see where it ends up. We'll go object path. We go offset. Oh, that's not even close. Try 70. We need a little thicker. I'm trying to keep these numbers even. We'll go 80. Yeah, I think that's thick enough. And now, if you watch my movie on badge design, the easiest way to do a badge design, and the reason why I use whole numbers and points is for this very reason. So where do I want the path to wrap my type on? Well, I wanted it 40. We did 80, so 40 would be half of it. So all I have to do is go path, offset, and it was 80 last time. You can preview it. That's where we want it. Click 40 like that. Then I'll go ahead and take my scissor tool and I'm just going to cut it at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock because we'll wrap one part of the type above, another part of the type below. And I think that's going to work fine. So the color, we can turn off our sketch now because we have all the elements. I'm going to take this face and we'll unite these together, bring those to the front. We'll go ahead and just color those black like this, no stroke. And I'll do some minor rounding so these aren't dagger sharp like on his tongue and stuff. I'll do that in a little bit. But this, I want this green. And the green we're going to use, and it's why I'm in RGB mode, because if it's in CMYK, you don't get the full appreciation for what this color actually is. This is a Pantone color. And it's fluorescent green Pantone 7525. And it'll look awesome if they did stickers with this. So we're going to go ahead and fill it. Obviously, don't need the outline. This will be behind everything. So I'll copy this, select all, paste behind. This will be black fill, like that, no outline. This will be a white fill, and no outline on that. And then we'll wrap our type on this. So the type we're going to have it say lead detected at top and leaddetect.com, the domain here. And I'm thinking these are stickers, much like Mr. Yuck. He could, after he detects lead on something, he could just put a sticker on it. We'll see. We'll see. That's what I'm going to pitch to him and see what he thinks. So let's go ahead and go to type and go to font. And the font I want to do is called AMCAP, this one. Like that. So that kind of shows what the style looks like. But we want to do type on path. So I'm going to select this tool, go here, find the central anchor, click on it. It'll be black, so let's color it white. It'll give us some Greeking. This is flush left. We want to do center. Now, when you're doing type, this is one of those things that they've never improved this since they had this. The first thing you want to do, double click on the type tool, bring this up. Instead of baseline, select center. So your type is directly in the center of the area now. And then I don't even know what the proper name for these are, these controls. You want to take the control on the left, bring it all the way down until it stops. And then the control on the right, same thing, opposite side, pull it all the way down. Now it's perfectly centered. So we can select this, we can type in what we want. In this case, I want to say lead detected, like this. And obviously that's not quite big enough. What size? 12. We're going to have to go up quite a bit. Let's try 65, like that. Maybe a little bigger. Let's go 67. Now this is where I have to do some kerning because I don't like how it looks here. I think that looks a little wonky. So I click into here, hold Option down, use my nudge keys, and I can add some spaces in here. I think that's fine. This one's too much, or too close, that is. And the same thing on this. I don't want it touching. I don't want it to go too far. You wouldn't want it like that. That's too big of a gap. So something like that looks okay. And I just do this on everything. Well, actually, first, what we could do, I could select this and where's our type controls? Oh, here it is. It's falling off the edge of the screen. We'll go in here. This doesn't matter, but let's try the tracking. See what that does. Oh, that looks good. Now I put too much in here, so I'll go back and I'll adjust these. They're not too far off. Something like that. And you always have to keep your eye on these because at times these will move. That's another thing that's kind of irritating. These are features that they should have decades ago gone back and improved upon, but for whatever reason, I think they almost need a whole team within the team for each software, whether it's Illustrator, Photoshop, that does routine maintenance on features to always keep improving them. I don't think they do that enough. It's like they only do it when people complain enough, and even when they complain a lot, it doesn't really motivate them. But I guarantee you, if their biggest Creative Cloud licensees complained about it, they would focus on it because that's where they make all their money off of. The world's largest ad agency, WPP, as of last year, became the world's largest ad agency based out of London, I believe. They pay well over $42 million a year to license Creative Cloud annually for all their global employees. So that looks pretty good at the top. Let's do the bottom. And the bottom again, we'll go to type on a path, click the central anchor point. Again, you can see how it puts the type upside down. We'll center it. And then you're going to have to adjust these again. That side, oops, go to this side. By the way, if any of you know what these are called, I have no idea what they're called. I probably should have looked that up. Doesn't really matter, but we'll color this again. Double click on this, set it for center, not baseline, like that. And this word's going to be longer, so we can't use the same. Oh, and by the way, it's upside down. Now, this is where it's very unintuitive. This should be just a button click you could do over here in the panel, and it would correct the orientation. No, what you have to do is what's pretty unintuitive, and this threw me off because in freehand for 15 years, type on a path was so much more elegant and easier to control. It still is. And even though freehand doesn't exist, it still is easier than Illustrator. You have to take this central one and drag it up to flip it, which to me is like, really? You couldn't improve that workflow? Okay, so we're going to select this. Actually, we need to go smaller because there's no way it's going to fit because his domain is detectled.com. So right now it's 67. We'll just type in 50. I know that would probably be safe. And let's go detectled.com. That's a little too small, so let's bump this up 5 points, and we can track it out a little more. That looks pretty good. This is a little spacious. Let's tighten that up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Something like that. So that looks pretty good. Let's double check, make sure these things don't move. Every now and then these, oh, see, that moved ever so slightly. You have to watch those. I don't know why they ever move once you set them there, but they can. Okay, that looks good. One more thing I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and type in an exclamation mark. And we'll just go ahead and I don't remember what my keyboard shortcut is on this machine. So we're going to have to go to type and go create outlines. I have that set up on my workstation like that. And let's go ahead so we can see it. We'll color it white. We'll go in here. And let's go 60. I don't have it proportionate. There we go. That looks pretty good. I'll select this and go align like that just to see. Yeah, see, optically, I mean, mathematically, that's correct, but I think it'd look better having it come down to right about there. That still might be a little big. So I'm going to go here and go 90. That looks pretty good. I'm really being picky on this. I'm going to 102, maybe a little bigger. We'll call that good. I'll clone it, go to reflect, find a central anchor point, click, reflect that over. Now this and these and the exclamation marks, all these will be green as well. So I think that looks really good. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in on this face graphic, and this is where I'll just finesse it. And I don't use a corner widget. Everything I'm going to do right now, you could use the corner widget, but it'll just take a little longer. So that's why I like using dynamic corners, because I can go in and just pull. I don't have to select and then adjust. And if that looks good, it remembers it, and I can just apply it to the next one. I'll even go on areas like this, add a little round there, duplicate it on that side. Go over here, just so it's not dagger sharp, put some round there. I'll go in here, customize it kind of like that. I might match this on this side to that side. That makes it look more, for lack of a better term, tonguey. We'll add a little round there. And I'll do kind of that same detailing on the eyes. I'm not going to spend all the time doing that, but just to explain it. And then even on these areas where it goes in, I think this would look a little good with rounds there and rounds on the target elements. So that's how I'd take, actually we can toss this. We don't need that type. So that's what this design came out like. Now, I wanted to present this as a potential for Eric to use, and so I sent him a comp showing this, and I mocked it up on a t-shirt that he could do as well, and I'll show you that shortly. But I had to wait to see what he would say, and I did. So actually, I've already built this design before, but I went through it just to show you how to build something like that pretty quickly. But I want to tell you the rest of the story. So I did send off this design to Eric, and he loved the idea. And I said, look, if you like it, I'll just give it to you. You could use it. You don't have to pay me anything. But if you do a t-shirt, I want a t-shirt. That's the only thing that I requested. And he said, that's great. Yeah, definitely send it. And so he has this now, and it'll be interesting to see how he uses it. I suggested sticker sheets. Now, of course, Eric's younger than me, so he had never heard of Mr. Yuck, but it's in the same vein as that. It looked great on a dark background. So this is how a sticker could work on a dark background or on a t-shirt, for example. But I think a really cool t-shirt would be kind of done like this, where it's just the face itself. And he could put on the back of his shirt his domain name. And Anyway, this was a fun project, and over the years, I've done this for a lot of different individuals and entities who are doing good work and just needed some design love to help them market themselves more effectively. I figure this will allow them to focus on what they do and still get their message out. I encourage you to follow at Eric Everything Led on Instagram. It really is interesting, the things he discovers, even in modern products, which is a little concerning considering it's lead. And thanks again for my friend Dickie Adams for providing the concept for this whole endeavor. It was fun, and I look forward to seeing what Eric does with the creative resources I provided to him. Remember, the exercise files for each of my People of Process movies can always be accessed via a link in the description below this movie. So make sure to check that out. There's also other links in there that you might want to check out to help support this channel. Thank you to the channel members for your support. It really does help me to develop new content everyone can enjoy. Even a simple like helps me to grow this channel. I appreciate your interaction with my content and appreciate when people comment and share my content as well. Until next time, thank you for watching People of Process. And as always, I hope this content helps you improve your own creative process.